Okay, welcome back, PlayBASiC coders. Still in web mode, still in updating mode. The current challenges are to take some modules that have become bloated, things like the menus you see here, and make a system that's built into the site to manage the menus for us. Now, they're pretty simple things, aren't they? Here's some buttons here to do basic things, do a search or whatever and go back. But these, believe it or not, they're actually HTML. There's a CSS part of that and a JavaScript part of them. Now, so if we flip across the definitions page, which is this stuff here, we can see this actual page in our markdown content. And this is the menu at the bottom. So we've got our markdown tags for our inverted rounded box, which we could change the style of or change the HTML of later. And then we actually have our little class and a bunch of links. They're our menu buttons, and they're declared up above here in CSS. So our simple reaction script up here, and our CSS in here. So in other words, every time we want to have that menu, we have to have those components available to the page, and then have, like, we can get rid of these by adding them to a bigger style sheet, for example. And the JavaScript code here, we can hide this away somewhere else, in a big blob of JavaScript functions that the site might use. But we have to include those things in the page to make sure they're accessible for us all the time. Now, what I want by all of the markdown stuff is to have as little HTML inside the pages as possible. So the pages are more like just definitions, and how it implements that is done through the template. So this is the old way, and the new way is just this. This does everything. So it handles the styling, so we get a choice of which style we want to use for our menu, and our list of buttons: add, delete, search. We give it some information about where it should go and any secondary information that we need this button to have. Do we need a confirmation? Do you want to do this thing or not? That pop-up, that annoying pop-up. So these add and delete, they have that, but the home and those things, search, they don't have those. And these are choosing different colors of the base style. And we can have multiple menus on the one screen just by doing that. But flip back here, we can see these two ones here are created from that completely, and that one there's the hand-rolled one. I mean, we can prove that if we pull out the CSS and the scripts there. I'll just move them somewhere else in this example. We hit refresh, and these have gone back to their default behaviors, which is just an anchor. But as you can see, now because every page is going to have these little menus on them, it's a lot of bloat that you end up with, and you've got to make sure you're controlling those things all the way through. And if you make changes to these menus in particular, when you've got the actual HTML block in them, there's a lot of opportunity there to make faults. All right, so let's have a look at the template code. What's actually happening is we've got two blobs. We've got this phrasing element that picks up the menu blocks, which is really just a standard sort of block of code. I must actually break this down again and turn it back into something like it was in the previous content manager. But here it's kind of unrolled. We've got just some searches finding the start and end of these things. When we find it, we look at, we grab the text between it. So we're grabbing, in this case here, we'd be grabbing this text from our definitions page. And then we're grabbing each line and going, what does this thing relate to? So back here, we're calling the phrase function, and we're creating an empty menu and then filling that menu in as we go through. So what this does is it builds up this definition of the menu, And then we render the menu out as our HTML blocks, which we just come down the bottom here, the next function, check if it's an array, if it's okay, grab our style name, and we load this from the template. And up here in the template file itself, this is where we have any menus that are loaded. Currently we create our default structure. We do a bit of a clean of the menu name to make sure it only has characters that we care about, alphabetical characters and underscores. We make a function name that we're going to call if it exists. Check if the function name exists. If it does, cool. Then we check if that thing has been loaded already. If it hasn't, we call the function, which is the one down here, the load function. This actually just inserts prepares the CSS in this case and the status templates for us and puts them in the menu. So if you use the menu twice on the page, that gets set up once, and every successive call, it doesn't have to prepare anything, it just has to grab the text from where it was already associated. So here we've got that structure. If we find the function, has it already been loaded? If it hasn't, we set this thing up, and if it has, we just return the one that was previously loaded. Back to here. This is doing the rendering now. We're taking the actual HTML blobs and piecing them together. And that's all the button loop does. We run through, grab our button name, we'll grab a template for the button, and then we insert the elements that we need to. The name, the link, it should link to any confirmation or style attributes that we might have for the link, and we add them to the blob of HTML. And at the end of this, we add them all into the HTML template, for the menu template, I should say, and then finally return this back to where the call came from. We return the menu HTML here, so return the menu, and we grab the processed and rendered out HTML and insert them back into the document, and life is beautiful. That does the HTML. The composition of the CSS is done in the render part of the site, so that actually occurs invisible to us. So I can just use the tags wherever I like, and it makes sure the correct CSS is on this page, the correct bit of JavaScript on the page. It's not phrasing and understanding the code, it's just piecing those blocks together for us, making sure they are where they need to be. And that's how it works. So let's get rid of this old definition here and replace it with a new one. Push it across a little bit. Hit save, back to the render page here, update it, and we have our page back to normal. Try and delete something, it'll give us a bit of a status warning. Don't add there. These pages here won't have the correct styling because they don't have our updated menus on them. So this is a good example though. On these pages here, our menus were being declared by hand. So everywhere there, even if I go to edit an article, it's got one of those menus in it. And I can shortcut these pages further, which is really good. So let's do it. Let's do that. Menu style. Let's go. We'll page down a bit. So here we'll put. We've got back, and we're linking back to this document, and we are deleting. Now, do we have that as an option through here or not? I just wonder if that's going to work in this case. Confirmation red style. Let's try that out. Go to empty record and hit the delete button. Yeah, delete this for me, thanks. Oh, I think it worked. It seemed to work pretty well straight away, so that seems like it's okay. That seems pretty good, even though it's just got a very simple looking menu there. That now can be used right across the website. So I just choose the style name, add our buttons, and then we should be pretty well good to go across the whole site. There's probably going to be a few pages here or there are a few customizations that may need to be made at some points, but it's nothing like what you were doing before, what I was doing before. Let's eliminate that. All right, that was uppercase delete, wasn't it? Let's call it back, big bold letters, delete. Terrible. That thing, get rid of that thing. Select error status. Some of these pages I'm okay with having HTML inside them if it's used once. If it's a custom situation where we need that, all right, fair enough, that's okay. I just want to have the common elements be handled by the system, and the rest of it we can do as we go through. Style, edit menu, buttons. Another function in that place. We don't need any of that stuff. Let's get rid of it. Style, script, no. I always like to double check this stuff just in case I'm breaking something without really paying much attention. That seems to be okay. All the saves all good. Back here, we try and save an article that doesn't have a title. It'll tell us this needs a title kev. Yeah. If we save it again, it'll say tell us the article needs some data in there. This is give it a bit more stuff there. Hit save. We're okay. Back to here. Our search page needs to be updated, of course. Let's do that one. That's our basic search. So we just want to have here or a back button of the original page. Thank you. All right. Search container. That actually needs to be made into its own little system there, so that's something we need to do. Not now, but back to normal, back to the search page, back to home. Search does work. Find a keyword, bunch of pages with that stuff on it. If I follow these links at the moment, it'll point somewhere else. I don't want to do that, so yeah. Okay, so we can. Our menus are now functioning better, and we have greater flexibility with those things, and we just got to keep doing that with all our standard components and get them as lean as possible, so the whole thing feels easy to build upon, and we can build more complicated things on top of what we already have. We've got our editing working well, we've got our add, delete life cycles working well. We can search for records, find them. We've got our basic response messages implemented. All the things that you never think about when you make any kind of piece of software that you have to actually go through and add to make them palatable for people to use. What I find okay to use and what the public will find okay to use are two different things. I just need it to work pretty well, and I need it to work reliably, and when it doesn't work, I need to make sure that the user understands why something didn't work, and we're given adequate information back about what went wrong. There's nothing worse than having like a generic error message, error. How does that help anyone. It doesn't help the user. It doesn't help me find the problem. I mean, who knows, right? If you saw how this was done in the previous generations of this, because this site was written, 20 years ago. Maybe not 20 years ago, probably 15 years ago. And it was just to fill in the gaps between when we built the beta site. Assuming that would happen at some other point, and then we had publishers dealing with the software and they had better sites than us, and we went, oh, okay, great, you do this stuff for us. We don't have that stuff now. We're going to do all these things ourselves. In our genre and our particular part of the internet, you could call it, we're just about helping people make simple games, learn game creation. We're not about making AAA games. We may be at one day if we can get enough people interested in on the base level and building up into more and more professional outcomes, but that has many consequences. I mean, the order of magnitudes that is in complication gets more and more. But there are plenty of libraries we can utilize now to do that for people if we can leverage people into them. But just back to the website stuff here, we just want to make it simple. I love simple. Simple is underrated. Might seem quaint, but I just want it to be simple and easy to use and have the features it does and do all the things that we were doing before, but just do them better. And help us build a better product, to build a bigger community, at least simple building blocks. That's my catchphrase for today. Simple building blocks. All right, dudes. Thanks for listening to me ramble on. Thanks for hanging out, doing some stuff. Hope you're doing some stuff. Hope you're having a good time. It's getting cold for us here. Hopefully it's getting nice and warm where you are. So enjoy yourself, and I'll see you soon. Bye.